Hey, 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 my incredible fishing family. Your favorite Aussie angler, that's me, is absolutely thrilled to welcome you back to the channel for another deep dive into the underwater world. Today, we're not just talking fishing, we're talking strategy, we're talking predictions, we're talking about making your next trip out on the water an absolute triumph. Get ready, because we're about to unravel the mysteries of the fishing forecast for Sydney and its spectacular surrounding coastal waters covering the period from the 13th to the 19th of October 2025. Now, I know many of you are already feeling that buzz in the air. October in Australia, right? It's that magical time of year when spring truly explodes, when the water begins to shed its winter chill, and when our finned friends really start to wake up and get hungry. But this particular week, my friends, this week is going to be special. We've got a fantastic blend of influences, a powerful full moon gracing our skies, a dynamic interplay of atmospheric pressures, and those beautifully warming water temperatures that scream, "Feed me!" Trust me, by the time we're done here, you won't just know if the fish are biting, you'll know why they're biting, where to find them, and exactly what bait or lure to tie on. We're going to transform you from a hopeful caster into a confident catcher. So settle in, grab a cold one, and let's unlock the secrets to an unforgettable week of fishing in Sydney. This isn't just a forecast, it's your tactical playbook for the week ahead, crafted with years of experience on these very waters. All right, my fellow enthusiasts, let's cast our minds and soon our lines towards the most anticipated species of the season. We're going to focus on 4 fantastic fish that are absolutely thriving in Sydney's waters during this vibrant spring period: the elusive snapper, the mighty yellowtail kingfish, the cunning flathead, and the ever-present, always a fight, bream. Each of these offers a unique challenge and immense satisfaction, and understanding their spring habits is key to success. First up, let's talk about the absolute jewel of our inshore reefs, the magnificent snapper. These guys, in mid-October, with the water temps kissing that sweet spot, snapper are really starting to push into their prime feeding mode. They're shaking off the last vestiges of winter lethargy and are actively looking for a good meal, often patrolling wider areas and becoming bolder in their feeding patterns. The warming waters signal an abundance of food, and they're keen to capitalize. Where to look for them? From my years of experience, and backed by the current conditions, for snapper this week, you'll want to be laser-focused on those classic inshore reefs and the slightly deeper rubble patches. Think depths ranging from around 15 meters down to, say, 30 or 35 meters. Why these depths, you ask? As the water temperature edges closer to that ideal 19 to 21 degrees Celsius, snapper become more comfortable venturing shallower, particularly during those prime low-light periods. I'm talking about the first 2 hours after dawn and the last 2 hours before dusk. This is when they feel safest to forage closer to the surface. Another hot tip from my personal logbook: don't overlook the mouths of our larger estuaries, especially on an outgoing tide. The converging currents here tend to concentrate bait fish and dislodge small crustaceans and worms from the bottom, creating a natural smorgasbord that will draw snapper in. Look for areas where current flows over broken ground, creating natural feeding lanes and ambush points. They love a bit of structure, an old bommy, a rocky outcrop, or even a subtle lump on the sounder. If your sounder is showing these features or bait schools holding close to the bottom, slow down and investigate thoroughly. Often a few drifts over such a spot can reveal a snapper hotspot. On what to fish? When it comes to gearing up for snapper, a versatile medium-heavy spin outfit is your best friend. I'd recommend something with a good quality 3 to 6 kilo braided line, spooled neatly to about 200 meters, paired with a 2 to 3 meter fluorocarbon leader of about 20 to 30 pounds. Why fluorocarbon? It's nearly invisible underwater, especially in the clearer spring waters, and that stealth can make all the difference to a wary snapper that's scrutinizing your presentation. For bait, you simply cannot go past fresh pilchards, perfectly presented squid strips. The fresher, the better, remember that. Or local prawns. My personal little trick for snapper, especially when they're being a bit finicky or when you're unsure what they're targeting, is to use a paternoster rig with 2 droppers. This allows you to present 2 different baits at different depths, or to offer a variety, maybe a whole pilchard on one hook and a delicate squid strip on the other. This way you're covering more bases and letting the fish tell you what they prefer on the day. If you're a lure fanatic like me, and who isn't, soft plastic jerk shads in natural baitfish colours, think pilchard, natural smelt, or even a subtle pumpkin seed with a bit of glitter, fished with a 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce jig head, will be absolutely deadly. Cast it out, let it sink all the way to the bottom, feeling for that subtle thump as it hits, and then retrieve with a slow, gentle lift and drop, just mimicking a wounded baitfish fluttering along. The key, my friends, is slow and subtle. Snapper are often more curious and investigative than outright aggressive, especially on a lighter bite, so give them time to find and commit to your offering. Next up, let's talk about the pure adrenaline rush of our Sydney waters, the magnificent yellowtail kingfish. October, my friends, is when these green torpedoes truly come alive. They're here, they're schooling up, and they're hungry, ready to test your tackle and your stamina. This is their playground, and they play hard. Where to look for them? Kingfish are creatures of structure and current, and they live for the chase. Your primary targets should be around prominent headlands, offshore reefs, and those always reliable FADs, fish aggregating devices, that are starting to hold good numbers of bait. They love to patrol these areas, often just off the drop-offs, waiting for an opportunity to smash through a school of baitfish. Keep your eyes peeled for any bird activity on the surface. Terns and gulls diving are often the telltale sign of bait being pushed up, and where there's bait being pushed, there are often kings doing the pushing. My secret tip here is to look for those subtle current lines or eddies just off the main flow around a headland. These are primary ambush points. Within the harbour, iconic structures like the Sydney Harbour Bridge pylons, the Sow and Pigs Reef, and various deeper wrecks or submerged reefs are prime real estate for these powerful fish. They use these structures for cover and as ambush points. Don't be afraid to spend time sounding around these areas. If you mark dense bait schools or large aggressive arches on your sounder, you're definitely in the zone. Patience and persistence pay off when targeting kings, as they can sometimes appear suddenly on what to fish. For kingfish, my friends, you absolutely cannot skimp on your gear. These fish are powerful, and they will find any weakness in your setup. A robust 6 to 10 kilo spin or overhead outfit is essential, spooled with 50 to 80 pound braided line. Why such heavy braid? For the sheer stopping power and abrasion resistance you need when a kingfish decides to dive into a reef or wrap you around a pylon. And please do yourself a favor, use that a 100 to 120 pound fluorocarbon leader, ideally a meter or 2 long, connected with a strong knot like an FG or PR knot. Trust me, it's not overkill. It's a necessity to withstand their powerful runs, brutal head shakes, and the sharp edges of the structures they call home. When it comes to bait, live bait reigns supreme. Freshly caught squid, local yellowtail scad, which we call yakas, and slimy mackerel are absolutely irresistible to kingfish. You can slow troll these baits around structure or rig them up on a circle hook under a balloon, allowing them to swim naturally near a reef or drop-off. For the lure fanatics out there, and I know many of you are, surface poppers and stick baits are phenomenal. Choose natural colors or chrome finishes and work them aggressively with a walk-the-dog retrieve or a series of explosive pops that mimic a panicked baitfish. The visual strike of a kingfish exploding on a surface lure is something you'll never, ever forget. Also, don't underestimate vertical jigs. Weights from 80 to 200 grams, depending on depth and current, dropped down and worked with a fast mechanical jigging retrieve are incredibly effective, especially when you pinpoint fish on your sounder. My top tip for kingfish: be ready for anything, or they can hit hard and fast, so keep your drag set right, firm but not locked, and hold on tight, because when a kingfish bites, it's a fight you won't soon forget. Moving on to a species that offers consistent fun and delicious rewards, let's talk about the incredibly versatile flathead. These cunning ambush predators are a staple of Sydney's estuaries and beaches, and October is a truly fantastic time to target them, as they become very active and aggressive after the cooler months. Their metabolism is speeding up, and they're keen to capitalize on the increase in baitfish and crustaceans. Where to look for them? Flathead are masters of camouflage, and they love to bury themselves in sandy or muddy bottoms, waiting for an unsuspecting meal to swim by. Your prime locations should be around weed beds, the edges of sand flats, and those crucial drop-offs within estuary channels. Why these spots, you ask? The shallow sand flats warm up quickly in the morning sun, attracting small baitfish and prawns, which in turn attract flathead, looking for an easy meal. As the day progresses, they often move to the slightly deeper edges of channels or drop-offs to ambush food as it gets swept past by the current. Don't forget the surf gutters and holes along our beautiful beaches. Flathead regularly patrol these areas, especially on an incoming tide when bait is pushed in. Within Sydney Harbour, fantastic spots include the extensive systems of Pittwater, Botany Bay, and the George River. Look for areas where a shallow flat meets a deeper channel, or where there's a good current flow over a sandy bottom that offers them an ambush advantage. They're often found where there's a distinct change in bottom contour. On what to fish? For flathead, you want to go a bit lighter. A light to medium spin outfit spooled with a 2 to 4 kilo braided line is absolutely perfect. The braid sensitivity will allow you to feel every subtle bump, tap, and even the texture of the bottom as your lure or bait drags along. My absolute go-to for flathead, without a doubt, is soft plastics. Grub tails, paddle tails, and minnow imitations are incredibly effective. Think natural colors like pumpkin seed, motor oil, or anything that mimics a small baitfish or prawn. For jig heads, I typically use from 1/8 to half an ounce, depending on the depth and current. The key is to ensure your lure is just ticking the bottom. Cast your soft plastic out, let it sink all the way to the bottom, feeling for that distinct thump as it settles, and then retrieve it with a slow hop and pause action. This mimics a prawn scurrying or a small fish darting. The pause is absolutely crucial, as that's often when the flathead, lying in wait, will pounce. If you prefer bait, fresh prawns, pilchard strips, or strips of mullet are excellent choices. Rig them on a running sinker rig with a small, sharp circle or J-hook, allowing the bait to drift naturally with the current. Here's a little secret, my friends. Flathead are often found in numbers. If you catch one, spend a good 20 to 30 minutes thoroughly working that same area. Even if you just caught one, often there will be several more lurking nearby waiting for their turn to feed in the same patch of sand. Persistence and thoroughness are key. And finally, let's not forget the humble but incredibly fun and feisty Bream. These guys are a fantastic target for anglers of all skill levels, and in October they are definitely on the chew in Sydney's estuarine systems. They might not be the biggest fish in the sea, but they fight hard, are incredibly rewarding to catch on light gear, and are masters of exploiting their environment. Where to look for them? Bream are masters of structure. They love anything that provides shelter, food, or an ambush point. Think about those gnarly mangrove roots, the oyster racks that line our estuaries, old wharf pylons, natural rock walls, fallen trees, and even the shaded undersides of moored boats in our estuaries like Sydney Harbour, Pittwater, and the George River. They will often hold tight to these structures, especially on an incoming tide when food is being washed their way. Don't be afraid to cast right into the thick of it. The closer you are to the structure, the better your chances, but be prepared to lose a few rigs. They also frequent rocky points and shallow reefy areas within the estuaries where smaller baitfish congregate. Look for areas with a slight current that brings food directly to their hiding spots. On what to fish? A super light spin outfit is ideal for bream, something spooled with a 1 to 2 kilo braided line and a very light fluorocarbon leader. 4 to 6 pounds is often all you need. The finesse approach is absolutely key here. Bream can be incredibly wary. For bait, fresh prawns are king. The smaller, the better, often just a single peeled prawn. Other excellent choices include nippers, which we call yabbies, small bits of pilchard, or even bread for those classic bread and butter, bream, around jetties and marinas. Use a very light running sinker rig with a small, sharp hook, size 4 or 6, allowing your bait to drift as naturally as possible. For the lure anglers, small hard-body minnows that dive to about 1 to 2 meters are incredibly effective. Cast them tight to structure and retrieve with a slow, twitching action, trying to imitate a small, wounded baitfish. Soft plastics, especially small grub tails or prawn imitations on a very light jig head, 1/16 or 1/12 of an ounce, are also deadly. Work them slowly along the bottom, near structure, or let them drift naturally with the current, barely touching the bottom. My advice for bream? Be stealthy, be patient, and remember, a light touch and subtle presentation often gets the bite when bigger, noisier presentations scare them off. Now let's peel back the layers and understand the scientific side of why our fish will behave the way they do this week. Understanding these elements isn't just academic, it's what truly separates a good angler from a great one, allowing you to anticipate and adapt. Let's start with the weather. For Sydney and its magnificent coastline from the 13th to the 19th of October 2025, we're anticipating a quintessential spring weather pattern, a beautiful, dynamic mix that will keep us on our toes but offer incredible rewards. Air temperatures will generally be wonderfully mild, truly ideal for being out on the water. We're looking at comfortable lows of around 12 to 15 degrees Celsius in the mornings, perfect for that crisp, early start to avoid the crowds, soaring to pleasant highs of 22 to 25 degrees Celsius on the warmer days. This steady and gradual warming trend is a massive positive for fish activity, increasing their metabolism and making them much hungrier as their biological clocks tell them it's time to feed and grow. Atmospheric pressure will be a fascinating aspect this week, almost like a barometer for fish moods. We'll kick off with a period of relatively stable high pressure from Monday into Tuesday, which, in my experience, is often a fantastic indicator for confident, active feeding. Fish tend to feel comfortable and move freely under stable pressure. However, midweek, specifically around Wednesday, we're likely to see a slight dip in pressure as a weak, fast-moving front passes through. This drop in pressure can sometimes make fish a little cautious or push them deeper, seeking more stable conditions. But critically, the period just before the front hits, as the pressure is starting to fall, can often trigger an explosive bite as fish instinctively try to feed up before the conditions potentially worsen. Keep a close eye on your barometer or even just the local weather forecast, friends, because timing this window can be incredibly rewarding. By Thursday and Friday, the pressure will be on the rise again, stabilizing towards the weekend. Rising and stable pressure are generally excellent signs for active fish, leading to more consistent and predictable fishing patterns. Fish feel more secure and are more likely to be out foraging. Wind patterns will also play a crucial role in shaping the fishing conditions. We'll most likely experience those classic light to moderate easterly to northeasterly sea breezes building in the afternoons. These breezes are often refreshing, but can chop up the inshore waters, creating current lines, disorienting bait, and pushing that bait closer to shore, a potential feeding frenzy for opportunistic predators. A brief shift to southwesterly winds is plausible around Thursday, following the pressure drop. While these winds can bring a slight chill, they often have the fantastic benefit of clearing the water beautifully, especially in the estuaries and sheltered bays. This clearer water can be great for sight fishing in calm areas, or for those species like snapper or flathead that prefer cleaner water for hunting. Overall, no extreme gale force winds are on the forecast, which is brilliant news for getting out safely and comfortably on the water without battling severe chop, allowing for more enjoyable and productive fishing. Crucially, let's talk about water temperature. This, my friends, is arguably one of the most significant drivers of fish behavior, especially during the vital transition from winter to spring. In Sydney's beautiful ocean waters, we're expecting the temperatures to hover consistently around that prime 19 to 21 degrees Celsius mark throughout the week. This isn't just a number, it's a biological trigger that signals go time for many species. This is the range where many of our target species like snapper, kingfish, and even the early season pelagics that start to show up really begin to hit their stride. Their metabolism speeds up, they become more agile, and most importantly, they become significantly hungrier, needing more energy to sustain their increased activity. In the shallower, sun-drenched estuary waters, we might even see temperatures nudge up to 22 or 23 degrees Celsius on those particularly sunny days. This warmth in the shallows is a magnet for baitfish and prawns, which in turn acts like a huge dinner bell for flathead and bream, drawing them into accessible, food-rich areas. This consistent and warming water trend means the fish are not just active, but eager to feed, setting the stage for a fantastic week of chasing them. Understanding this temperature sweet spot allows you to target areas where fish are most likely to be comfortable and actively hunting. And then there's the ancient, ever-present influence of the wide moon phase. From the 13th to the 19th of October 2025, we are right in the heart of a major lunar event. The full moon itself graces our skies on the 14th of October. Now, you've heard the old tales, and from my experience, there's often a lot of truth in them. A full moon brings with it incredibly strong tidal movements, both high and low. These powerful tides stir up the bottom, dislodging bait, bringing new food sources, and thoroughly oxygenating the water, which invigorates the fish. This surge of activity often acts as a huge stimulant for fish. Many seasoned anglers, myself included, swear by the full moon bite. While sometimes the brighter nights and clearer water can make certain species a little warier in super clear, shallow conditions, making them a bit more cautious about what they eat. For active predators like kingfish and snapper, it often signals a fantastic feeding window. These strong tides push more bait around, creating more opportunities for ambush. My advice is to strategically plan your trips around those strong full moon tides, especially on the 14th and 15th. Focus on the peak of the tidal flows, those 2 to 3 hours either side of the high and low tide, as these are often the most productive, and you could be in for some truly memorable action with fish moving and feeding aggressively. Bringing it all together, let's consider the overall fish activity. For Sydney and its coastal regions this time of year, mid-October marks the full swing of spring, and the waterways are absolutely buzzing with life. The sluggishness of winter is definitely behind us, and fish are now in a high-energy, active feeding mode. Their biological systems are revving up. Most predatory species are vigorously hunting, stocking up their reserves, and some are either preparing for or have just completed their spawning rituals, which also makes them ravenous. The warming waters are teeming with baitfish schools, pilchards, slimies, yaccas, and prawns, which are becoming larger and more widespread. This abundance of food acts as a colossal attractant for everything from snapper cruising the reefs to kingfish ferociously hunting around structure and flathead lying in cunning ambush in the estuaries. Beyond our main target species, you'll also likely encounter active schools of tailor and Australian salmon in the surf and estuary mouths, especially if you see birds working. And if you venture a little further offshore, the whispers of early-season mahi-mahi dorado will start to become reality as warmer currents push in. Expect spirited fights, strong runs, and a high probability of success across a fantastic variety of fishing styles, from bait soaking to aggressive lure casting. The fish are hungry, friends. They are feeling the spring energy, and they are absolutely waiting for your perfectly presented bait or lure. This is truly a fantastic time to be an angler in Sydney. All right, my friends, the moment of truth. Let's get down to the day-by-day forecast so you can plan your assaults on Sydney's waterways with absolute precision. This is where we combine all our knowledge, the weather, the moon, the water, and the fish behavior, to give you the clearest picture possible for each and every day. Monday, the 13th of October. We're kicking off this magnificent week with what I'm confidently calling a good to very good bite. We're looking at very mild air temperatures peaking around 22 degrees Celsius with incredibly stable atmospheric pressure that fosters fish confidence and light easterly winds that will keep the water comfortable. The moon is a robust waxing gibbous, building steadily towards the full moon, meaning tides are already starting to gain strength and stir up some food. These stable, warming conditions are ideal for snapper on the inshore reefs, especially during the first few hours of light, when they feel most secure. Flathead will also be incredibly active in the estuaries, moving on to those warming sand flats to ambush passing bait. The fish will be feeling comfortable and feeding with confidence, so don't be shy with your presentations. My advice? Get out there early, target those reef edges with fresh pilchards or perfectly presented squid, or slowly work soft plastics over estuary flats and drop-offs. Look for subtle current lines. Tuesday, the 14th of October. Mark this day on your calendar, my friends, because it's the day of the full moon. Air temperatures will be even warmer, hitting up to 24 degrees Celsius, with light northeasterly winds that will build gently in the afternoon. There's a slight, almost imperceptible drop in pressure, which from my experience often acts as a trigger point for fish to feed before a potential change. This combination, strong full moon tides, warming water, and that pre-front pressure dip, is a recipe for an excellent bite. I'm talking prime kingfish action around the headlands and snapper going absolutely ballistic on the reefs. The strong tidal flows will dislodge bait and stir up the fish, putting them into a prime feeding mood. Be out there at dawn and dusk, focusing on current lines and structure. Live baits for kings are paramount, and fresh pilchards or well-worked soft plastics for snapper will be deadly. This is not a day to miss. Call in sick if you have to. Wednesday, the 15th of October. Following the full moon, we'll experience continued warm, breezy conditions, with temperatures peaking at 25 degrees Celsius. However, stronger northeasterly winds will develop, and the atmospheric pressure will continue its gentle drop, with a noticeable chance of late afternoon showers. The strong winds will make offshore fishing quite challenging, potentially chopping up the waters and making boat control difficult. This can make the fish a bit more cautious in exposed areas. However, the stirred-up water can actually be fantastic for tailor and Australian salmon in the surf gutters and estuary mouths, as bait gets disoriented and easy to pick off. Estuary flathead and bream might be a bit more finicky due to the pressure drop, perhaps retreating to deeper, more sheltered holes or tight into structure. I'd classify this as a bakui medium to capricious king day, meaning you'll need to adapt your tactics and locations. Look for sheltered bays and coves, target the surf, or focus on deeper estuarine channels where fish might hold, waiting for conditions to stabilize. Finesse might be key today. Thursday, the 16th of October. We'll see a noticeable shift today. It will be cooler after the passage of that weak front, with maximum temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius. Moderate southwesterly winds will prevail, and critically, the atmospheric pressure will be on the rise again, starting to stabilize. This immediate post-front period can sometimes momentarily switch the fish off as they adjust to the changing conditions, making them a bit lethargic. However, the rising pressure is a very good sign for a bite picking up later in the day, and the southwesterly winds often bring in clearer water, which can be beneficial for sight fishing or for species that prefer cleaner water for hunting. I'm forecasting a par-medium basque bite, but with strong potential to improve as the day progresses and fish adjust. Focus on sheltered spots that receive good light and try a more subtle, slower presentation for snapper and bream. Deeper holes in the estuaries might hold flathead, seeking stable conditions and less current. Patience will be your best weapon today. Friday, the 17th of October. What a difference a day makes, my friends. We'll start with a cool morning, but it will quickly warm up to a pleasant 21 degrees Celsius. We'll have light westerly to northwesterly winds and, importantly, wonderfully stable high pressure settling in. These are absolutely fantastic conditions for fishing. The fish will have fully adjusted after the midweek weather shift and will be back in a confident, aggressive feeding mood. I'm forecasting a strong, good bite across the board. Flathead and bream in the estuaries will be particularly active as the shallows warm and bait becomes available, making them prime targets. Snapper will also be settled on the reefs, keen to feed and less wary. This is a brilliant day for a productive session, whether you're chasing estuary dwellers with light gear or venturing out to the reefs for some snapper action. Don't hesitate to try a variety of lures and baits today, Saturday, the 18th of October. Get ready for a truly glorious day, my friends. Expect beautiful sunshine and warmth, with temperatures peaking around 23 degrees Celsius. Light variable winds will make for incredibly comfortable conditions on the water, ideal for any style of fishing, and stable pressure continues its positive influence, putting fish at ease. This is absolutely prime weekend fishing weather, and the fish know it. Expect a very good bite. Kingfish should be incredibly active around structure, chasing bait hard with explosive runs. Snapper will be on the chew, and Flathead will be aggressive on the flats. This is the perfect day for casting lures, soaking live baits, or exploring new spots and trying out different techniques. Make sure you get out there early to enjoy the best of the action and perhaps beat some of the crowds, as everyone will want to be on the water. Your chances of a trophy fish are high today. Sunday, the 19th of October. We're wrapping up this fantastic week with another excellent day. Warm temperatures reaching 24 degrees Celsius, with partly cloudy skies and light easterly winds. We'll see a slight, gentle drop in pressure as we look towards the new week, but nothing significant enough to deter the fish. Rather, it might even trigger some pre-front feeding. The fishing should remain a consistent good to very good all day. Estuaries will be buzzing with bream and flathead activity, and the inshore reefs will continue to hold plenty of snapper action. Fish will be actively feeding, making for a superb end to what promises to be a memorable week of spring fishing. Enjoy every moment and make sure you share your catches with us. Well, there you have it, my dedicated anglers and future fishing legends. A complete, in-depth breakdown of what you can realistically expect in Sydney's magnificent waterways from the 13th to the 19th of October 2025. I genuinely hope that these detailed insights, based on everything from lunar cycles to shifting pressures, will empower you to make your next fishing adventure not just successful, but truly unforgettable. Remember, fishing isn't just about catching, it's about connecting with nature, understanding its subtle cues, enjoying the tranquility, and sometimes, just sometimes, a little bit of pure, unadulterated luck. So what are you waiting for? Grab your favorite rods, spool up your reels, pack that sunscreen and a good hat, charge your boat batteries, and get out there. I'm sending all of you the best of luck, tight lines and that classic Aussie wish, ni kvosta, ni cheshwi, which, for my international friends, is essentially saying good luck with your fishing. Go on, make some memories. Now, before you go, please do me and this incredible fishing community a huge favor. If you found this forecast helpful, insightful, or even just entertaining, do me a massive, solid, and absolutely smash that like button. Every single like helps us reach more anglers. If you're not yet part of our growing fishing family, please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our future adventures, detailed forecasts, and all the tips and tricks I've gathered over a lifetime on the water. And now for you, my amazing audience. What are your specific plans for this coming week? Are you heading offshore to tangle with some powerful kingfish? Or are you planning a more relaxed session in the estuaries for flathead and bream? Do you have a secret spot in Sydney that always produces, or a killer bait that never lets you down in spring? What was your most epic catch from last week? Or even just a funny story from your last trip? Share all your wisdom, your tales, and your tips in the comment section below. Your experiences make this community vibrant, engaging, and truly special. Until next time, stay safe out there, keep those lines wet, and I'll absolutely see you on the water, my friends.